Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you
All
hear
right.
us?
Yeah, I can. Uh, Carolina, is it Carolina? Is that how you say it?
Carolina. Yes, with an A.
Carolina. Okay, it's different around the world. Um, all right. I've read your little letter here saying that you want to talk about various things. I'm not even going to look at that letter.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Don't look at it. James want me to do this.
Yeah, yeah, you just ask whatever you want to ask, and I'll do my best to do it.
First of all, I want to say something about us here, because me and my mom, we are together in this work for 2 years now.
Hi, Mom.
We have
Yeah.
we have a group of almost 1,000 people that attended at workshops.
I heard that. That's amazing. It's really good.
Thank you. Yes, we are very excited about it and very honored.
You know,
And
when we had the Flower of Life, we had 375 teachers, and it came down to there was about 15 that did more than all the other ones combined. And it's just the way it is. There's some people that can do this, and some people can't as well. So you're one of those that can do this. It's great.
thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It's an honor for us to be here and to do this
Yeah,
kind of work.
yeah.
And I want you to know that we are translating and discussing and meditating on any kind of interview, words, Q&A, no matter what you're doing out there.
Yeah.
We are following you so close. We are translating in Romania, and we are giving these words, articles, whatever you're saying, all over Romania, and we are putting in into our group of 1,000 people, but also on a newsletter of the publishing house that published our book in Romania,
Mm. Oh,
reaching thousands of people
yeah.
here in Romania. So you are very welcome here. So thank you again for
Thank you for doing
reaching our
that. And,
house.
uh,
I don't know
you
if you
know, I
remember.
haven't been to Romania. I don't know how this is ever going to work out because I'm getting old, and it's harder for me to travel than it was before. But you are one of the places that I wanted to go to, and so maybe it'll still happen somehow.
I know, since I know you, you told me this many times, but I will consider this video and this Q&A for you coming to Romania.
Okay, all right. Thank you. But I still want to come.
You are still very welcome. So
And but you know, in the questions, the kind of questions you're starting to ask here, I just want to kind of lead into this. Is that what's happening right now in my life and relative to all this work that I've been doing my whole life?
yes, please.
What's happening right now is the greatest thing I've ever seen ever. It makes all the Flower of Life work and everything else look like nothing. I'm learning things right now that I knew were true, and but holy cow, this is huge. This is so huge, and
Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
so this is exciting for me. I mean, it really is. This is being back like in the beginning when I first met the angels, and they started telling me all these things. It kind of blew my mind. Now this is just coming from all over the world. There's been secret work going on now for about 45 years, and it's really been kept secret. I mean, like they're just not telling anybody. And the doorways are opening around the world where they're letting me in to get part of this information. And but one of the primary pieces of this information is something that they know has to be true. The scientists that are working on it knows it has to be true, but they can't figure it out. But what they don't know is HeartMath already figured it out, and they actually can prove that what they're trying to say is true. And so now it's come down to exactly how does it work, and in the last 2 days, I think we just figured it out. It's
Tell us anything about
basically
what you
basically
figured
when
out.
the heart beats, it makes just a little tiny bit of electricity, and it's done it through chemistry. There's three chemicals that they mix together, and the pacemaker cell triggers it, and it makes a little tiny spark. But that little tiny spark is all they can see from science, because the next thing they see is this huge magnetic field around the body that is 5,000 times stronger than anything coming out of the brain or anywhere in the entire body. It's a huge field, which you would, from physics, you would say requires a whole lot of electricity, a current moving, to make a magnetic field that powerful. And no one's been able to figure it out. But I think we've just done it. And that's really the last piece, because once that's understood, all the other pieces are in place, I think. And the human being will now know how to do what a single cell does in our body. This is going to be a pretty interesting situation for human beings that are in this, that understand what this is, because it's going to send you very rapidly into higher consciousness. And I can hardly wait. It's very amazing, really.
Okay, and how do you reach
So
that?
this is going into a book right now, and as soon as possible, that book will come out. And out of this is the workshops that from which we are understanding how these things work.
More close to what you're saying, through electricity more than magnetic, in a way?
It's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination. It begins with pure chi and prana that comes down the tube. And what we're now realizing is that pure chi and prana can be converted directly to electricity. But it's coming, the prana is coming down the tube, and the electricity is going back out the tube, in both directions. And science has already proven that in Birkeland currents, the current flow is in both directions. And they know that for sure. They don't understand it, but they know that it's fact. And so all the things that we're doing is we're just using scientific fact and correlating that with Merkaba science, and it just reveals itself easy. All the rest of these guys are all around all these physicists and engineers and mathematicians that are working on this around the world. Only one of them that I'm aware of knows about Merkaba science, and he has moved faster than all the rest of them, and so that's really the advantage that we have, is we understand how the energy field of the human body works, which is identical to how it works on planets or stars or galaxies or anything else. And so,
and how is that related with our Merkaba of today?
what?
How is that, this one that you're talking about, how is related with our Merkaba today?
Okay, what you're teaching in the ATIH work is groundwork that is required in order to go on to do this other work with the Birkeland currents. We discovered this right away when we did the first one. We allowed other people to come in because I thought that would work. It does not work. It might work with older Tibetan Buddhists, but it just doesn't work in most other places. So we've now stopped that, and you have to have the ATIH training before you can come to this workshop. You need to know it. You have to know that, or you can't go on. And so the rest of the work is assuming that you know that and you know how to do that. But there's a lot more that has to be added onto this. It's not a little bit, it's quite a bit. And it's a lot more, not just in, the knowledge is not so complex, but what's complex is how to actually make the movements within your body to make these various things happen. I could see why it's taken so long. Even when a galaxy is formed, usually you don't see the Birkeland current streaming from that galaxy until it's very old, because the people that are in that galaxy are like the cells in our body, and they have to be able to learn how to generate enough energy on a galactic level to be able to make these kind of things happen. And so
different levels, let's say.
the what?
Different levels, let's say.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over and over. It doesn't matter if you go down and you're into an atomic level or a cosmic level. It is identical movements of energy that are taking place, just on different levels and different dimensions. But it's all the same thing. And so that's what makes it easy for us, because we know how the energy moves from with around the body. We have the Merkaba science at our disposal, whereas all the rest of this world scientists don't know that, and so because they don't know it, they have to use science, the normal science, to be able to do research, to be able to figure out what the next step is, and it's taken them 45 years to get to where they are now. We've gone farther since in about 5-6 months than they've gone in 45 years, because we have an advantage. We know about the Merkaba and the inner workings within the body, and that's what's helping us.
What is your opinion about the end of this 2014 and how it's the last 100 meter between
Well,
the end of the window?
I think that what I believe is going to happen is they're going to wait till almost the last minute. And it's a long conversations with Mother Earth and things that have been going on actually since 1999. And I really think that Mother Earth is controlling this, and she is trying to buy us as much time as possible. And it has made a difference, because initially she was supposed to have moved to the fourth dimension in 1999, and she didn't. And she may have done it, but she's reconstructed. And so, anyway, it's all moving perfectly, but I don't think that 2014 is when this is going to happen. And I don't think it's even going to happen in the first half of 2015. I think it's going to come down to the very end, is what it looks like to me. And if that's the case, then there's nothing we can do but just keep going and keep preparing for this. But when this does trigger, it's all going to go very, very fast. And there's not going to be any room, I don't think, to you're going to have to know what you're to do, because we probably are going to lose the internet and a lot of other things. We're not going to have this kind of communication. We might have a different kind of communication by that time.
Thank God.
I hope.
Yippee!
So we got to get this real clear very soon, and I think that hopefully by the first part of 2015 we'll have what we'll need to know, and we'll be able to give you this information so that you can both teach it and learn it yourself, so that you are prepared, and for your families and everything else. Again, we're not trying to reach the whole world. That's not going to happen. We're trying to reach certain people, just certain ones, and we're doing that. So don't be concerned about whether or not we get, all 7.1 billion people. We will get them, but not through this process. It'll be through a different process.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. I don't know, because people are struggling and doing back and forth, and physical problems, emotional problems, and
I know this is a hard time.
Anyway,
this is a very, very hard time for everyone, but just know that there is a time coming when this is going to seem like a birthday party.
Okay.
We've got things coming on us that are huge and are going. Basically, the world is going to be only concerned with survival. They're not going to have any time to think about these kinds of things. We have to do this now. And before,
let's do it.
Yeah, we are doing it, and and it's all perfect. Don't think that we're not going to do this. We are going to do this. As far as the ATIH, you can complete everything you need to do just by doing the last 90-degree turn, and that will solve the problem for that person. This is solving a problem on a much bigger level. This is huge. This actually reconnects the Earth to all the rest of the universe consciously, and that is where we're heading for. And the universe is connected to us right now. They can see us. They know everything we're going through. They understand completely. But we don't understand what they're going through, what the rest of our larger body is going through. And that's what we're trying to get to the point where there are at least some people on Earth that would be able to know and understand the moves that are coming down on Earth on a much bigger level than what humankind would normally understand. And this would help everyone. It would help everyone alive on Earth. So we're taking this to a level that really I never thought we would ever get here.
Really?
No, I didn't think that human beings would ever be able to do this, and because this normally doesn't happen this quickly. We're going to. But I would like to get back to one thing in terms of like with you and with ATIH teachers. I would really like to get them into this class as soon as possible, because I don't know how many of these classes there's going to be, and try to begin understanding what this is about, because this is really another whole level above everything that we're being taught with ATIH, and it requires not just knowing it, because knowing it is pretty amazing, just knowing what this information is, but it doesn't do you any good. You have to be able to get it into your breath and into your energies of your body, and make something happen very specifically, and that's what we are trying to reach to right now, and we are really right on the threshold of understanding this information, what we can. And so even learning what we know now, what you would then need to augment that with to know a little bit more, to know enough to be able to do it, would not be that much. If you just go through the class is extending your information out to a much bigger level of understanding, and how those things work. In this October workshop, we will finally be able to give you the information of how to do that. But there's still more that has to be known. Life is complicated. It really is. And
So you are talking about another new kind of workshop?
Yes, that's
so not this one that you have right now.
That's the one we're doing now. And it is in October. It will evolve one step further than it did in the first two, to an area that will become a lot clearer in understanding, and it's part of the understanding you must understand. This is beyond anything the Flower of Life has ever given before, and or through the ATIH. This is taking it to a whole other level, and that level ends up being you connected directly to every single living life form in existence, whether you know they're there or not. And it changes the possibilities for humankind completely. And right now you have the entire scientific mathematical world excited beyond belief, because they can see where this leads to, but they don't know how all these things are put together. And we're just doing that part. And it's really clear through Makama science how these things are put together. It would take them a couple hundred years, probably, at the rate they're going, to be able to understand this without understanding Makama science. It would take a long, long, long time. But nevertheless, what they have done in the last 45 years, relative to us, is huge. They're giving us all the necessary things that we need to know without us having to try to understand it ourselves through meditation.
And how this, sorry.
That's okay. What were you going to say?
No, because you were saying about that 90-degree turn meditation.
The 90-degree turn is valid. It will work. In other words, we're giving everything that they wanted us to originally give to you. It's all that's necessary. We're going beyond what's necessary now. This is taking all of this to a way different level that science never knew existed. Spirituality always has believed it's been true but could never prove it. And now we're going to be able to prove this. Uh, Human beings are going to be able to exist on a level much, much higher than human beings have ever existed in on Earth before, and still be here in our bodies. We're going to be like living uh, ascended masters alive in bodies on Earth is what's going to happen. Because when you complete this, you definitely will never die again ever. But you will still be in your physical body and not having gone on to another location in the reality. So this, if this can work, you guys are going to be very, very valuable to Mother Earth. And all those that understand this are going to be a huge asset to her, because she's going to work straight through you to get as many people to understand this as possible. And but probably if we even get even 1,000 people that can understand this and actually do it, that would be tremendous. That would be just absolutely tremendous. If you, Carolina, could just get every one of your people to understand this, you would do everything that Mother Earth needs.
I'm trying to.
So
I'm trying to do my best anyway. So
you're doing your best. You're doing great. So I can see that for sure. So now let me just keep going into what questions you want to know beyond this.
according to what you just said, if you can tell us more about the Brotherhood of Seven Rays.
The Brotherhood of the Seven Rays is
What
about.
do we need to know about that?
It was created approximately 230,000 years ago. That's how old our DNA is. Our DNA is about 230, a little less than 230, but it's about 230,000 years old, approximately. And right prior to that, Melchizedek, Machivinda Melchizedek, came in and set up the Great White Brotherhood. And it was set up in a way because at that time only the left brain of the human being was being developed, which is the tetrahedron and the cube, and that's the logical side. It's language. It's all that kind of stuff was being developed. But the heart side of the body, I don't actually know the history for sure. I mean, it was started to be developed in Atlantis, but it was lost. And so it never really got developed except in the hands of a few people. Were 200, 300, 400 people, and that was about it. And so it never got completed. And so when Machivinda came in, he knew what was going to happen in the future, and he saw that we were going to have this problem from the beginning. And so Machivinda created the Great White Brotherhood, which has 72 orders in it, and it's based on the Akasa dodecahedron, that the consciousness grid that's around the planet, and there are 60 tetrahedrons in there that actually make the surface of it, and then there's 12 points that come out, which makes the icosahedron part, and the 60 plus 12 is the 72 orders. And it's also the angle of a pentagon is 72 degrees, and that is important because both the icosahedron and the dodecahedron are based on the pentagon. So to do that, what we're doing was they were taking the icosahedron, the dodecahedron, which is the right side of the brain, and developing that through the octahedron, which is the corpus callosum, which links the left and the right side together. And so all these different orders were timed. They all come in for a certain length of time, and they leave for a certain length of time. All of them, but the last two, the first and the last. Alpha and Omega, Order of Melchizedek, and the Brotherhood of the Seven Rays. And the other ones, some of them have been phased out now because they were working on the left side of the brain a long time ago, and they're gone. They have done their job and they're gone. But there's still about half of them, the 36, which is another important angle in all of this, 36 degrees. Those are the ones that are on the right side of the brain, and one of them is like the Rosicrucians who come into existence for 100 years and then disappear for 100 years. They're just gone, and they just reappear 100 years later, and that's been going on for a long time. They all have different cycles like that because they're all scalar in nature, linked to the bigger wavelength of the whole Earth of what's going on. Well, these other orders are completing themselves right now, and the one that is becoming the most important at this moment is the Brotherhood of the Seven Rays. They physically exist in Bolivia, and they physically exist on the side of a huge mountain in Bolivia, and on the south side of that mountain, which is facing the sun, and there's a crack in the face of that. You don't even hardly notice it when you're just looking at the mountain, but if you're there, it's pretty wide, and that light goes inside there, and inside there is tropical with palm trees and everything else. It's full waterfalls, and it's in the 80s, and it's very warm all the time. And that's where they chose to put their physical location on Earth. But they don't work physically so much as they do interdimensionally. And they are prepared to receive all 7.1 billion people through their interdimensional levels to make sure that each one of them is safe and okay through this. We don't want to see anyone get lost in this, and we do not believe anyone will be lost in this, not even one person. And so it goes beyond good and evil, regardless of what you did in your life, whether you were playing the dark side or the light side. When it comes down to this, the polarities are going to disappear, and we're going to become back into just individuals that are first we will come back as individuals that are centered in oneness, and then we'll literally come back as a universe that's centered in oneness. And so the polarities won't be there anymore. And so even if you were a really bad person, you're still going to make it. Or if you're a really good person, it doesn't matter on those levels because it's all merging back into oneness again. Archangel Lucifer was considered, it's even said in the Bible, the greatest angel that God ever made. That doesn't make sense if you think of it only in polarity. And Archangel Michael plays the opposite side of that polarity. It's a game that they're playing to produce the polarity in the world so that we can try all possibilities. But that's been collapsing now for some time. And Archangel Michael and Archangel Lucifer are working together now to collapse up all the things that they created, so that we're done with this experimental part of this universe, and we're about to go on to do something different. I can't.
I think we're ready.
I can't tell you what that is.
We are ready.
Because it's kind of beyond human imagination, but because we're going to a place where there's no planets and there's no stars and there's none of the stuff that we have here, and there's no polarity, and there's nothing at all like we have here. It is really entirely different, and I think you're going to really be happy in this change because there's no more struggle. Struggle is a thing of the past.
Thank God.
And pain is a thing of the past. Death is a thing of the past. Illness is a thing of the past. All that's all part of polarity, and that's gone.
And it's not going to be this fun?
Well, I think it's going to be a lot more fun. There's no sex there, in the way that we think of it.
Yeah.
sexual energy is still there, but it's used in a completely different construction in a different way. And so it's a whole new world. This is a gift. This is not something bad. This is not a punishment. This is a truly cosmic grace entering in at the end here right now. And by us being able, by humanity, at least some of us, it puts it into the human consciousness. By us being able to understand what we're being given right now, this higher level of consciousness, it not only is once you get it, you're going to just, it's just going to, it's just so crazy because everything we have believed in our hearts to be true is now being proven to be true. And so this is going to be a very, very, very positive thing for humanity. My main thing now is just to get as many as the teachers to begin to understand this information. You know, and in the very, very beginning, we may only be able to teach like 5 or 6 or 7 people. Because it doesn't do you any good to know how this works. You have to be able to do it. And the doing of it is much harder than it is on the ATIH work. You can't fake it. Either you can do it or you can't. And when you do it, you know that you've done it. It's because it's all internal energies you're moving. Once you reach certain levels, okay, you know you can do those levels, and but each of those levels beyond there are harder. They're not easy to do. This is why in Tibetan Buddhism they won't discuss the Merkaba till after 14 lifetimes of you being a lama, and then they won't discuss this until you have mastered the Merkaba. And so this is the last areas of it. When you are actually doing this, you float off the ground. If you're not floating off the ground, you're not doing it. So this is a case where you will have to demonstrate to prove that you are actually doing this. Now the Tibetans, all the older Tibetans, are floating all the time. And they're also in a state of just total bliss, because this brings you into union with all life everywhere, the whole universe, with God and everything, and directly and consciously. And so when you do this, you do float off the ground. And I was just talking to one of my Tibetan teachers who said that from the day that he met his teacher till which was 700 years ago, until now, whenever he goes back and meets with him, he's always floating. He never does anything but float. And he lays on his side so he looks like he's laying down in the air. And he's always laughing and giggling and having fun because he's mastered life completely and he has no worries about anything, and he's just trying to help humanity get to the same place.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So this is so basically all we can do is just learn as many of the steps leading into all of this, which those steps are getting very clear right now. They're not getting clear. It's really coming down to this little tiny thing that the heart does that creates this magnetic field around our body, that once that's really understood and we can learn how to do it, we'll do it. You'll float. And you'll also, what I believe is probably going to happen, this is going to be pretty interesting phenomenon. It's almost going to be almost as interesting as the floating off the ground. When you see the sun have a CME, a huge coronal mass ejection at the North and South Pole, it instantaneously, in 0 time, connects with the Earth, faster than the speed of light. Billions and billions, no matter how fast you say it is, it's not fast enough 200 billion times faster than light. Still not fast enough because it does it in 0 time. And so the Earth, and this is a sexual energy between the sun and the Earth. When he connects with her, it produces this massive electrical flow through the center of the Earth that then produces this really strong, it passes through, you have the same thing right above you and right below you. We're going to explain all this when you get into this next workshop. And it has to pass through water. And you have 2 water caps on top of you and below you. So when you send your electrical flow out the top and out through the bottom, it passes through water. And when it does, it superheats it and produces plasma. And so on the Earth, you actually see the aurora borealis glowing in this big ring around the North Pole. It's off to the side right now because the magnetic field is off to the side. And it's tied to the magnetics of the Earth rather than the physical pole of the Earth. And so during that time, the Earth and the Sun are actually having sex together, is what's really occurring. And there is a way, I believe, for us to be able to join in on that and understand it and have it happen to our physical bodies as well as to the physical Earth and to the Sun. I think this is true. I'm almost positive of this, actually. And that's one of the things we're leading into right now is how we can join with the Earth and the Sun during those times and to let us experience how mommy and daddy make these kind of changes within themselves, and so that we can understand how a human being should be able to do this also. We have the identical same electromagnetic fields around our body. They're exactly the same. They're precisely the same. And we have the same energy flows moving through us that the Earth and the Sun have moving through them. And so we just have to understand it and do it. And the understanding is coming very, very fast. And I think we're going to be able to do it. And maybe it's just we get all the parameters in place, and there's 10 of you that know how to do this and are working with me on how to make these changes, and one of you do it. It doesn't matter who does it. Who cares? All that matters is that somebody with a human being and a heart figures out how to do it so that it goes into the grids, and we can now know how to do this. Once one person knows, everyone knows. And so this is what we're doing right now. And I would like to say, and once we get to the level where you guys are understanding really understanding what it is, we need, for those that are getting it, I would really like to be in connection with you, like at least once a week, so we can practice how this works.
And how you think about
and you may know something because of something your mommy told you when you were 3 years old, and you say, oh, this is how it works, and that last key or the final steps are done. Though we do know we're pretty clear on all the dynamics at this point. So I don't know if there's anything else I can help you with. I'll do it, whatever it is.
And during this process of this time of, I don't know, the veils are so thin and we are so close of what you just said all night. What you can say about our connection with the angels, with our civilizations like Pleiadians, Arcturians, Hathors, whatever, and even plasma beings?
There's a whole lot of fourth-dimensional beings that we are close enough to where they're watching us very carefully because it's easy for them to see us because they're connected to everything. We're not. But once you do get connected, all those kinds of beings, the plasma beings and the angels and Pleiadians and the Syrians and all these guys, and lots of them, they want to help us. It's to their advantage that they have for us to, if we can learn this, we are like their lower selves. And if we can get it down here, it's going to make them even get it more. The Pleiadians have been figured this out approximately 2 years ago, and they're just beside themselves right now, because at first it was only just a few people that were able to do it, and that's moving from the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension. It is the first step of becoming a cosmic being, really cosmic, because once you go from fourth dimension to fifth dimension, you are formless at that point. You become the universe and everything, and so the way that they're becoming the universe is tied into what we're doing right now also. And we're not there yet. We're still trying to get fourth dimensional. And you got to be fourth dimensional for a little bit before you can become fifth dimensional. And but with what we're teaching here, there is a way of bypassing that whole sequence of steps. Those are the evolutionary steps that life took a long time ago. And people are just following in the footsteps. But there is a way, at the end of all this evolutionary process, there was this thing that occurred a long time ago where all life interconnected. But life is still coming up. They're still moving upwards. And so I don't. This is such a huge step. This is not a little tiny thing. It's such a huge step that if we do this, we bypass all 100,000 steps, a little more than that get you to this place that we're trying to arrive at directly. And I really doubt if any human being has ever done this before. Maybe, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't think any of the Tibetans have done it. I don't think any of them have done it.
Aren't we at the beginning of the fourth dimension? Let's say beginning.
Well, right now, I think that we are in the fourth dimension, but still think we're in the third dimension, because we don't know.
That's the problem.
We don't really understand our situation, and Mother Earth doesn't want us to understand it right now. She wants us to think we're in the third dimension so that we continue doing what we're doing without having to deal with the problem of entering into another world, because you enter into another world and it takes time to adjust to that. And so she's trying to keep us going in the third dimension. But we don't have much time left in here. If the Russians and everyone else are correct, and the angels also, if all these people are correct, we only have, about 16 months max. But it's perfect. It's not bad. It's exactly the right time, and we have enough time, and we're going to do it. We just have to go through real time and be able to understand these things. But I really would like to have some of you to be able to bounce this off on, not just on a workshop, but on people that have got the basic information and then got cleared up to where I am right now. If we could get even
definitely, I want to know more.
People up to that level, I think that with more of us doing it, we could understand this a lot faster. It's really up to Mother Earth and Father Sun whether the timing that they want on this, because they could just come in right now and tell me exactly what to do, and that's what they did yesterday, by the way. All of science has been trying to figure something out for a long 45 years. They've been trying to figure out this last tiny detail, how the heart is able to, how a single cell is able to make this vast amount of electricity. And so right now, they've showed me scientifically how this works. I have to now go in and figure out deeper steps of this, and then get connected probably with heart math, because I know that they're going through the same thing that we're going through. There's no choice. Once you understand, everything leads you through little places that you have to go through, and when you go through those places, then it leaves you with less choices on the other side of what is possible. And so HeartMath is almost for sure going through an identical procedure that we're going through. I don't know, but again, we haven't even had the time to be able to really communicate with HeartMath on a lot of this stuff. So it's all perfect. We'll get there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
With your support, anyway, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Oh, it will be. Oh, we're going to be fine. We're going to make this. We've already made it just with the ATIH information. Humankind can make this into the fourth dimension constantly just from there. But the Birkeland current and the Merkaba science information on that makes it a lot clearer how that takes place. We were trying to at least describe it in the last workshop, where we didn't know this in the first workshop. The first one, or the second one, we did understand it. But when you make that cross, when you move from your heart over to here to this other, to your fourth dimensional heart, there are certain things that were not understood or even known about. We didn't know these things existed when we were in the first workshop. But now that we do, we can see how things, for one thing, we can see exactly how the human body, physical, goes from third dimensional physical body to fourth dimensional physical body. We can see clearly how that takes place. Didn't know before, but and so we can explain that now, how that happens. Because it's all about these 90-degree turns. When you move from here across over to here, and you make that turn, and you make that last 90-degree turn down, the Birkeland currents of the third dimensional body are running parallel to that. And so when you align yourself in that particular way, the fourth dimensional Birkeland currents are aligned with the third dimensional Birkeland currents, and that's how your body physically goes from third to fourth dimension. It's very easy to see how that takes place.
We're talking about healing, actually. If you want to say something more, because it was interrupted.
Well, a lot of things can be healed just through the Merkaba. And healing is a huge subject. I mean, it's just massive. It's no little thing, because there's so many different approaches and so many different concepts and ideas and ways of thinking about things, of how to bring things in balance.
That's why we wanted yours.
I don't really do anything but breathe prana, and I never get sick, really. I haven't had a cold or anything, nothing, absolutely nothing in 14 years. But I just got back from a plane trip from from San Francisco Bay Area to Flagstaff, just on a little plane doing this thing. And myself, my wife, and my daughter Mia, we were all traveling together, all got this like a cold thing in our throat. It was a bad thing. It's gone now, but it's the first thing I've had in a long time. And I mean, there are things you can, if you take the right supplements, it will keep your body, you just don't get sick, ever. And if you have cancers and all these kind of things, it'll just go away. It can't exist in there. There's a certain combination of things that you can take that we found, but then that's still not enough, because in terms on a physical level, the problem is that you can't get it through your food. The soil doesn't have the minerals anymore. This is why we're going into on the edge of an ice age, is because the minerals on the earth are depleted. There might be little pockets here and there where it's okay, but the majority of the planet is dead when it comes to the normal life of the minerals, and the minerals are everything. And so, I mean, it's literally 100% of the problem once you understand how the whole thing works. And so we can't get it from food, and the only way you can get certain things is through supplements. There's no other way. We're in that thing, except if you're going to, you can do it, that's on a physical level, but there's other ways you can work with things. You can work with things through consciousness levels, and those levels will heal all kinds of other problems that we have. It just depends on what it is and what's behind it, what caused that to go out of balance. It's not necessarily anything you even did in this lifetime. It could have been 5 lifetimes ago that you did something that has come to a point in this lifetime that brings it out of balance. And so in order to fix that, you actually have to go back to that time to, you don't have to do it consciously, but you, one way or another, have to go back to that time and balance that situation there. When you do, it brings it forth into the future from that remote time and fixes it. Healing is
Regarding what you just said,
it would take months just to give the basics.
I have time.
Yeah, I don't have time on here right now, but it would take a long time.
Regarding what you just said, going back to the cause, what caused the real that disease or problem, what do you think about soul retrieval?
Soul retrieval actually comes from a native point of view. They were the ones that held this longer than we have, and so the people that have come up with those kinds of ideas, the originating point of that is from indigenous tribes. They believe that all these tribes, when you start talking to them, they don't think of themselves as being from Earth. They all came from different places. The Mayans came from the Pleiadians, and so it's I wasn't really prepared for this, but soul retrieval is where you have been on different locations inside the universe, and everybody's come from somewhere else because we're older than the universe, and the Earth is a brand new planet. It's not very old, and so everybody on Earth has come from somewhere else, but some people have been here for a very long time, and some people have been here shorter amounts of time, etc. I've only been here, this is my second lifetime, so I'm a baby on this place.
Lucky you.
But what happens is you'll go, say you came from the Pleiades and you spent 100,000 years on the Pleiades, and what you do is you get attached in a way to things there and people and situations, and so when you make the choice to leave, a lot of times you leave part of yourself there. You're not really complete. You're still leaving part of your consciousness there, and you move and go to another place. And then you might then move and go to another place again, leaving part of your consciousness to this other place. And so sometimes you get scattered around the universe. Not everybody does that. Some people realize they have to be totally clean when they leave, and they understand that, but not everybody. And so if you've got parts of yourself in other parts of the universe, and you're going to make the kind of transition that we're making now, which is a total transition to another level of existence, you've got to collect in all those other parts of yourself and bring them together. Usually if you're working with your higher self, the higher self will do that automatically, and they will help you. They understand the situation. They know exactly what to do. But that's a good thing to do. It is not a bad thing to do. But there are people that know what they're doing, and there are people that don't know what they're doing. It's just like, and it's with almost every form of healing. You're going to find just like what you guys are doing with ATIH. There's maybe 280 people that have been through that training, but it really comes down to a handful of people that really get it and know how to teach and to transmit that information. And it's the same way in all these healers. You might have 1,000 people, but only maybe 15 that really know how to do that. In acupuncture, that was really clear when we started studying that. the original guy that brought this over here, he understood it as well. Whatever he understood, he transmitted that to all the medical doctors in the United States. And his wife actually became better than him in all of this. And so finding a right teacher is not easy.
And this soul retrieval can be between the Earth lives, let's say, or only between Earth lives and other lives.
Well, it can be between. It's complicated because you have to. It's individual in every single person. Where they've been, what they named, what happened, why they left, why they left it there, what it was all about, how strong and emotional was that. That's another thing. And so every form of healing is a little different because it mixes in other problems that they have that have compounded that other problem. And so sometimes you can fix something to a point and you can't ever seem to get the other part fixed because you don't know that there's something else underneath there that is stopping it. Healing is something we must do, and always stay in and try to keep yourself in balance. I mean, eating properly with healthy food that doesn't have filled with pesticides and all these kinds of things, and GMOs, which are super dangerous to us on other kinds of levels, to stay out of all that kind of stuff the best you can. And sleeping patterns are so important for human beings at this level. There's so many people that are not sleeping right now, having no idea what that does to them. And yet it's not their fault. They can't figure out how to get to sleep. So
Yeah.
I didn't come here to be a healer, but you can't really do consciousness without becoming involved in healing, because you have to heal yourself to be able to go into higher levels of consciousness. It's just the way it is. But that isn't really my purpose here. My purpose here is to give very basic information around the Merkaba and the light body, which is necessary for higher levels of consciousness. There are a lot of really good healers. If you want to learn from someone I've come across some very good healers, but one of them is John Sweeney.
John Sweeney.
And I can give you his phone number, and he can actually teach you what he knows. He has learned. He was in a wheelchair. He could not move. His legs were the little size of his bones, and that was for a long, 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 long time. And they had to pick him out of the chair and put him into the bed and then put him.
I know him.
Okay, so he healed himself. He said to God, "If you'll show me how to heal myself, I will spend the rest of my life healing other people." And he learned Qigong, and he really got it. And so he's healing hundreds and hundreds of people all the time. And so if you want to learn healing from him, we were just talking to him the other day, and he's going to start teaching people how to do this. Qigong is the best form of healing that I know of on Earth.
Thank you. I know. And my last question.
Okay.
The final and the best question.
Okay.
What you can say and tell us about the divine feminine?
Oh my gosh.
That's a short question.
That's a long question too.
Summary.
Everybody is both male and female. There is no such thing as a female or a male. Never would be, never has existed. In fact, death is going into one of those two poles. If you go and become totally female or totally male, that's death. You die. You're out of balance, and you're gone. Can't keep your body. So we're all male and we're all female to different degrees and different amounts. It's depends on how we've mixed it over our lives. And so the divine female is really in everyone. and not just in females. However, so I was saying that the difference between being female and male is so great that a lot of people don't really understand. Females understand females better than most males. It's just true. Okay. there are males that are totally get it just as much as any females too, but
yes,
but it's mostly females, and the divine female has been suppressed for the last 13,000 years because that's the cycle that we were in. So on December 21st, 2012, actually December 22nd, 2012, was the first day of where the divine female is coming forth.
yes.
And it's getting stronger and stronger, and it's becoming obvious around the world what's happening. I mean, the females were really suppressed everywhere, just about in the world, until just recently. What
about now?
Well, now that's better, but it is about females becoming aware of the female side of who they are, and bringing spiritual information in through that channel, because spiritual information, we kind of think that spiritual information is forever, but that's not true. 1 second. Can't. No, can't do it right now. They're trying to get us to stop, and I will stop in a minute. But the divine female is the way that we are going to understand everything in the future for if we were to stay here. But we're about to leave, and so the divine female is not going to have very much time to be able to do what she does. It would normally take at least 100 years before this would kick in, really kick in, and we don't have that time, for sure we don't. And so the only thing to do is to, if you are female, is to realize that what you have is something that is, that point of view of the reality is what is needed now. The male point of view is not needed now. It's the female point of view that is needed. And so that's about all I can really say on that right now. It's a really long question. So we have to close now. We're getting too long into this.
Thank you so much, Drunvalo.
Okay.
Thank you for being in our hearts, in our homes, in Romania.
All right. Thank you so much, all of you. All the rest of you, I didn't get to talk to you, but
everybody put the questions actually, and I'm the one to just express it to you.
It's okay. It's probably better when we have this many people. So
maybe next time we'll.
Until next time.
I'm waiting your book because you have another book in Romania. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.